Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. They thought that the witchcraft era was unparalleled. And yet, before the old man who suddenly appeared, it was unbelievably fragile. The blue palm seal exceeded their expectations. The hundreds of cultivators struck with their palms again. The witchcraft purple orbs shot forward again. Alas, the blue palm seal advanced unimpeded, destroying the purple orbs. The witchcraft cultivator at the lead widened his eyes in shock. He looked at the huge palm seal incredulously. He wanted to retreat and leave their formation, but it was already too late. Boom. The palm seal struck the shaman. The others behind the shaman looked up. They saw the palm seal hitting the shaman as though it was swatting a fly. Brain matter rained down. The shaman was immediately crushed into a meat patty. The witchcraft cultivators in the palm seal's path were injured and dropped to the ground. Even those who were lightly grazed by the palm seal were not spared. The others scattered like a platter of loose sand. This palm strike took out close to 100 individuals. The dense formation caused them to pay a heavy price. They rearranged themselves and looked up as they hovered in the air. The old man above them was looking down at them with an almighty air as he leisurely stroked his beard. They were filled with fear, wondering about the old man's identity when they saw many cultivators appearing behind the old man in a row. Fall back. Zhou said, take them down. All right. I'll go first. Ming-Shirin was first to jump into action. He dove at the enemies at lightning speed. Soon after, Pan Litian, Lang Luo, Little Yuan, and Duanmu Shang followed suit. Kong stayed by Zhou's side. She dared not attack since she did not know how to fight. The witchcraft cultivators were like a platter of loose sand. They were not a match for these people. Miserable cries rang in the air as the witchcraft cultivators plummeted from the skies. In less than 15 minutes, all the shamans were taken down. Most of them were dead. The captives numbered less than 100. Lock them up in Liang Province's prison. Seal their cultivation bases, Zhou ordered. Understood. At this moment, Zhou waved at Ji Liang. Nay. 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 Ji Liang obediently flew to Zhou's side. Despite being clearly exhausted, both physically and mentally, it seemed happy to return to its master's side. Zhou looked at Kong and said, ask Ji Liang the questions that I have. Kong walked up to the horse. She directed the questions to it. Ji Liang merely neighed. Sometimes, its neigh was long, sometimes, it was short. Although the others could not understand what was said, the girl and the horse did seem like they were having a conversation. Kong was even laughing. What did it say? Zhou asked. To think that I need someone else to communicate with my own horse. This is awkward. Kong said, Master. It said that it brought second senior brother to a place far away. But there were many who wanted to capture them. Hence, Ji Liang drew the enemies away and was separated from second senior brother. Zhou asked, does it know where Yu Shangrong is? It said that second senior brother was still guarding the quagmire when it drew the enemies away. When it went back to look for him, he was no longer there. It doesn't know where second senior brother went. It doesn't know? Zhou frowned. Kong said, but, it said that it knows how to find him. It's just that it doesn't want to tell me. No wonder that Kong laughed. Ji Liang knew how to withhold information as well? Zhou looked at Ji Liang and said, if you don't tell Kong, how am I supposed to save that rascal? Can your conscience live with it if that rascal dies? Nay. 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 It said that it doesn't have a conscience. Zhou frowned and said in a low voice, impudent. The sound wave was quite powerful when he reprimanded Ji Liang. Kong and Ji Liang started. Ji Liang huffed before it neighed. The others, naturally, could not understand it. Conk said, it's said that Bayan can find second senior brother. Bayan can follow his scent. Bayan. Ji Liang doesn't like the big guy, Bayan. There could not be two tigers on a mountain unless they were of different sexes. On top of that, these two were different species. Lu Zhou nodded and waved his sleeve. Ji Liang sped toward the forest of Liang province, searching for a resting place. When Ji Liang was gone, Bayan arrived. At this moment, Si Wuya said, Ji Liang's proposal of tracking down second senior brother by his scent is a good idea, but the Rulians and the people of Lulan stationed many of their soldiers east of Heaven's Moat. They're our greatest obstacle in our quest to cross Heaven's Moat. In that case, we'll clear the obstacles. In the Lulan campground, the hundreds of shamans had not returned, and the others were beginning to worry. Two generals were pacing outside a tent. General, this is bad. The 300 shamans are all gone. They're defeated? The general was meant to replace Bazir. When he heard this, his old face fell. He ordered, retreat. Now. Lulan's army retreated from the east of Heaven's Moat in less than an hour. They traveled north and returned to the west of Heaven's Moat through Roli. Inside Carol's campground. General, we've received a report that Lulan's 300 shamans had given chase too far in and are completely annihilated. When he heard this, General Carol was not shocked. Instead, he guffawed and said, they deserve it. Even Bazir didn't dare to venture too far into enemy lands. Them? The rest has pulled back from Heaven's Moat. They retreated? Carol was shocked. At this moment, a subordinate came running in and said, General, this is bad. Great Yan's Liang province's garrison general is challenging you outside the campground. Carol frowned. How audacious. They should be grateful I didn't challenge them. How dare they challenge me? I'll go out and meet them. Carol walked out of the tent. Before he exited the tent, he could already hear the sounds of battle drums in the distance. This meant the Rolian campground was boosting up the morale of its troops. He walked out with an imposing and impressive air. When he stepped out of the campground, his 4 deputy generals bowed at the same time. General. What's the situation? Someone's challenging you. Open the gates. We'll ride out to meet them. Understood. They opened the crude gates. Carol and his 4 deputies leaped on their warhorses and headed for the front lines. Today shall be the day where I slay Great Yen. We'll follow you to our deaths, General. From the western campground, they sped eastward with the sun behind their backs. The hooves of the warhorses stirred up clouds of dust. The front lines. Up to 10,000 Rolians wielded spears and rushed forth in groups. Yet, the group standing before them numbered less than 100. Master, the provocation worked. Si Wuya walked up to Lu Zhou. Good. Lu Zhou stroked his beard while the other hand rested on his back. His eyes were fierce as he looked ahead. The 10,000 Rolian warriors waited as they faced their enemies. Great Yan's greatest elite. You think that you can face my 1 million men army? That dog of a Great Yan strategist, Si Wuya, come out. General Carol will be here shortly. I advise you to surrender now. Another officer from the other side taunted from the back. At this moment, a Rolian soldier ran to the front. He bowed and said, General Carol is here. The 10,000 Rolian soldiers cleared a path immediately. From afar, General Carol spurred his steed forward as he advanced to the front lines, leaving clouds of dust behind him. The Rolian soldiers fell to one knee. Welcome, General Carol. Welcome, General Carol. Roli's war god had arrived. The Rolian warriors and cultivators looked at their war god, Carol, with admiring looks in their eyes. Carol and his 4 deputies arrived in an imposing and impressive manner. Nay. The horses stopped and raised their hooves. Carol and his 4 deputies alighted from their steeds. Carol looked ahead and saw the insignificant group of people in front of him. General, the old man is the one who wants to challenge you. A subordinate pointed at an old man who was stroking his beard and had a hand on his back. Carol projected his voice and said, "Challenger, what's your name?" Zhou did not deign to reply to him. Instead, he waved his sleeve. Wuya understood and stepped forward. He calmly said, "General Carol, your reputation precedes you." Carol's gaze fell on Wuya. He saw the peacock plume in Wuya's hand. This matched the information he had. Hence, he said, the Evil Sky Pavilion's seventh disciple. Wuya. You're the strategist in Liang province? I won't call myself a strategist. I'm just slightly witty, Wuya said with a smile. I'm afraid you're the only one under the heavens who can come up with the method of controlling the masses by assigning numbers to them. You flatter me. Carol looked at the few individuals behind Wuya. He shifted his gaze back to Wuya and asked, "We're at war, and you merely brought 100 men here to challenge us. Wuya, who gave you the courage?" Wuya said, "What matters is the quality of your soldiers, not the quantity." A millennium ago, the southwestern king, Sword Saint Zhonglidao, guarded the border on his own. Yet, even the 100,000-strong Lulan army dared not take a single step forward. What's more, we have 100 men here. Carol said disapprovingly, "I'll have to correct you on 2 points. First, you're not the southwestern king, Zhonglidao. Second, the times are different. Roli isn't what it was before." Wuya nodded. "You're right. I completely agree. Indeed, I'm not Zhonglidao, but Great Yan isn't the Great Yan of the past as well. It's meaningless to exchange words." Carol looked at the people behind Wuya dismissively. "Since you've presented your heads on a platter, it'd be rude for me to not accept them. Let's begin." The Rolian warriors behind him spread out. With a single order from General Carol, they would charge forward without fear of death. Carol raised his voice and coldly said, "I've always been direct with my words. Forgive me for being blunt. Aside from your master, I don't think much of any of you. You don't have the right to be my opponent." He waved his arm. His 4 deputies rode out from behind him. This meant that they would take the simplest form of battle, a general's duel. When 2 armies faced off, the duel between their generals would be called a general's duel. Each army would choose one capable general to fight. Wuya shook his head and said in a clear voice, "My master has said that a battle can be avoided. My master has always been merciful. He doesn't wish to see the blood of the people flowing into a river, even if it's Rolians. Hence, if you alight from your horse and surrender while the others retreat, my master will surely be kind and only punish you lightly." Upon hearing these words, Carol's 4 deputies laughed uproariously as though they had heard the funniest joke in the world. Suddenly broke into a maniacal laugh. However, Wuya's expression was solemn. Similarly, the Evil Sky Pavilion members' expressions were solemn. What was there to laugh about when they had a 9-leaf cultivator among their ranks? This was clearly a serious matter. Carol said, "Everyone knows that you're cunning. I'm a disciple of the Evil Sky Pavilion. I will never lie in front of my master. My master is standing behind me." As soon as Wuya finished speaking, the laughter of the 4 deputies stopped abruptly. They looked behind Wuya at the same time, alarmed. However, Carol said, "Don't think you can fool me. Your master is taking charge at the divine capital, he can't possibly leave. You've found a person who resembles him to challenge me here. Do you think I'll fall for that?" In a war, psychological warfare often played a prominent role. The more real it seemed, the greater the likelihood it was fake. Alas, Wuya was truly not playing mind games right now. He shrugged helplessly. "Carol, do you think a 9-leaf cultivator needs to resort to petty tricks?" At this moment, one of the deputies said, "Wuya, do you really think that General Carol is all brawn but no brains? I'll answer that question of yours." He took 2 steps forward before he continued to say in a loud voice, "It's only natural for the 9-leaf cultivator to stay in the divine capital. I'm not afraid to tell you this. As soon as the 9-leaf cultivator leaves the divine capital, there will surely be 8-leaf cultivators sneaking into the imperial city to kill everyone there. Before this, the divine capital was guarded by the 8 great generals and that dog of an emperor. How could the 9-leaf cultivator dare to leave? In any case, if there really is a 9-leaf cultivator here, all he has to do is to summon his avatar. We will surely retreat. There's no need to waste so many words. His words that were laced with primal chi traveled far, reaching the people at the back as well. Mingxian turned and said, "Master, show them your avatar. Let's scare them witless." The others looked at Zhou as well. They were looking at him expectantly, waiting for him to summon his avatar. In a war, the best scenario was one where they could break the spirits of their enemies without actually fighting. Zhou glanced at Mingxian from the corners of his eyes. Is this rascal starting to forget his place just because things have been going smoothly for him recently? I'm down to my last disguise card. Even if I use it, it won't be because you told me to. Do you take me as a joke? Mingxian instantly knew what his master's look meant. He hastily turned around and shouted, "Bullshit. Who do you think you are to witness my master's avatar?" "Master, I request for permission to fight." Zhou said nothing. He merely waved his sleeve. Mingxian leaped out after he obtained his master's permission. The minds of men were strange. The more one acted like this, the more they would think one was lying. The deputy general guffawed. "Are you infuriated from the shame of being exposed? General, I request for permission to engage in battle." "Go. Make it quick." "Understood." The first deputy charged forward. Wuya shook his head helplessly and stepped aside. He had done his best to negotiate. Zhou could have made a move. However, if there really was a 1,000,000 men army on the other side of Heaven's Moat, how could he wipe them out? That would take too much extraordinary power. The better way to go about this was to take out their leader. That was how wars were fought. The deputy was halfway into the battleground when he pushed away lightly from the ground and launched himself into the air. He advanced to meet Mingxian in the air. Whiz. Mingxian summoned his avatar. A 2-leaf golden lotus spun in the air. When he saw the 2-leaf golden lotus, the deputy scoffed and jeered. "That's it? I'll take you out with one strike." He folded his palms together. An axe-shaped energy seal shot toward Mingxian. With the agility increase from his 2-leaf golden lotus, Mingxian held his separation hook in a backhand grip and pressed forward. He slashed at the shining golden axe. Carol shouted, "Don't underestimate your opponent." The deputy understood. He said gruffly, "I know you're concealing your strength. Die." The axe suddenly enlarged to thrice its original size. At the same time, the Wolf King's arms appeared on the deputy's arms. The avatar merged with him instantly. There was no golden lotus. Mingxian was surprised. He continued swinging his separation hook. "Fourth brother. Mr. Fourth." Bam. The separation hook drew across the axe. At the same time, the axe moved toward Mingxian's avatar. The two of them shot past each other in just an instant. A crisp sound rang in the air. Who managed to land a blow? The two opponents' backs faced each other. The battle had ended with a single strike. Everyone's eyes were trained on the two opponents, waiting for the outcome. Who won? Mingxian did not move. His back was still turned on the Rolian deputy general. The Rolian deputy general turned around and laughed. "You think you can defeat me? What a joke." He turned around. His Wolf King avatar disappeared. "Fourth senior brother." Wuya cried out. Wuya was about to step in when a cracking sound rang in the air when the deputy general took 2 steps forward. Soon enough, his cracked armor fell to the ground. Blood gushed out from a wound. "You." The Rolian deputy general raised his arms and looked at Mingxian's shoulders. Mingxian wiped his separation hook with his sleeve. From the Rolian deputy general's viewpoint as he dropped forward, he could see a miniature golden lotus in Mingxian's sleeve. It only lasted a second since Mingxian had suppressed it. He did not know the exact height or the exact number of leaves, but he was sure there were, at least, 6 leaves. Soon after, a gurgling sound rang in the air as blood continued to surge out from the wound on his throat, and he fell forward on the ground. Thud. The Rulain deputy general was no longer breathing. Ming Shirin cleaned his separation hook. He looked up and said tonelessly, "Next."